Hero, Season 3, Episode 17. Thank you guys so much for joining us today on today's episode, which is brought to you by our friends at Enterprise. I'm your host, Jenna Anderson, and joining me today is Nicole Drum.
Hello!
We got Jamie Jirac.
Hey, everybody.
And we have Aaron Perrine.
Hi, guys.
So we have a lot to talk about today. CinemaCon is happening right now. BD, as we speak, is literally in Disney's panel presentation for it. So I had kind of hoped that we would be able to have him like crash the show a little bit, but he is very busy right now. But we have some CinemaCon updates to talk about. We have some casting updates to talk about. We just got a lot of news this week. We might do a little Q&A at the end of the show, so hopefully that'll be fun. Thank you guys, by the way, so much for tuning into our George Kittle episode last week. That was so much fun to be a part of, and it seems like y'all had a really good response to that, and that was just great. But yeah, so this week we got the Kraven the Hunter teaser, sort of. It screened at CinemaCon. It is not going to be available to the public until this summer, but we got some details from the presentation about what to expect from the movie. First and foremost, this movie is rated R. It is the first Sony Spider-Man film to be rated R after the Venom sequels almost were rated R and are now PG-13. The teaser apparently revealed that Rhino is in the movie, but is not seemingly played by Paul Giamatti. So, you know, I'm heartbroken about that. Is anyone else also heartbroken about that? Because Paul Giamatti, I'm bummed.
Seriously.
Like, I'm intrigued about the R rating, but no Paul Giamatti? That kind of cancels each other out. I'm now once again just as neutral and don't care as I did before.
I was going to say, we're all going to kind of go around and say how we feel about this movie, especially after all of these details. I know in previous episodes, we kind of poked fun at this movie just in theory and in concept. But I'm very curious to see once this trailer actually comes out to the public, because based on the reactions at CinemaCon, people seem kind of jazzed for it. So I'm very curious to see how this actually ends up being. There also is the comic accurate costume in the teaser, apparently, like fully the animal print. Everything. I can only imagine how that's going to look, especially given the comments about whether or not Kraven actually loves animals. So that'll be really interesting to see. But at the moment, like, how are we all feeling about this movie? How are we all feeling about Kraven? Aaron, you're at the top of the board.
So I was out of pocket, so I did not get to see all the fervor. I just get on and see like the breakdowns from BD and other people about what they saw, and I'm just like, somehow it's even more silly and like wild than we even thought, like as memes. Like we thought it was going to be ridiculous, and it somehow has surpassed it, because our rating, like first, like what? And then no Paul Giamatti. So I'm like, why did we bring back all the villains and stuff for the last go around if we're not just going to bring back all of them? Although he might have been busy, who knows? The reactions are good. So that's also confusing, because we all thought that this would be like kind of just a living meme, just like Morbius, just like El Muerto's supposed to be, just like the Madam Web movie that we have no idea and have not seen a single thing about either. So who knows? It could surprise. We could end up looking very silly in the end of year rankings, but I doubt it.
Nicole, how are you feeling about Kraven right now?
I'm not gonna lie, like I don't love Sony, like I don't dislike Sony stuff because it's all so bonkers. And so I kind of expect this, like, oh yeah, new meme movie, I'm here for it. But now I'm like reading stuff and I'm like, this sounds like it's gonna be like the bloodiest meme ever. And like my dark little heart wants it so much now. Like I cared not at all before, but now I'm like, so wait, I'm gonna get like bad animal print fashion from the comics. It's bloody as heck. And it's whatever Sony is smoking. The lack of Paul Giamatti kind of takes about 10 points off for me, but I'm like, okay, now I need this. Like, I know that everyone's like the hype for like the footage is like, oh, this actually looks pretty good. I do not trust. I am so skeptical, but like I'm interested. Like I feel bad for saying that. I'm like interested in this now.
And like I will say, like the cast of this movie is intriguing. Like Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Ariana DeBose and Russell Crowe. It's like you have a good cast of people. We've been burned that way with Sony before, of putting a good cast of people in a movie that isn't necessarily good. But yeah, Jamie, what do you think?
I just want to say, I think we're all forgetting that the Morbius trailer was also a good trailer. That trailer was not a bad trailer, and look what happened. So, and I haven't even seen this trailer. I've heard that people having fun at an event have seen this trailer. So I'll wait for my own eyeballs for this. I don't know. Sony has lost me so hard, and then the fact that like they cast one of my least favorite people in another upcoming thing is just like, I just don't care about any of this. So
Did I miss something? What are you talking about?
Dakota Johnson.
well, I was trying not to say it out loud.
I thought you said it on the show before.
Project name.
I thought you
were project name.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, only really hinted it.
Yeah, okay,
I think
that's
I said
fair.
that Agents of Fandom once.
Okay,
but,
yeah.
I'm just not a fan of her work. So now the world knows. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I'm
so sorry.
Now I can be free. You guys know I'm not a fan of her work, and now I can say it, and I'm fine because I didn't have to initiate the feeling, and that's where we're at. Thank you. Jenny, you freed me. Thank you.
I feel so bad now. I'm so sorry. But
No,
yeah, it is just so funny of like, we'll talk about Spider-Verse later in the show, but it's just the quality difference from Spider-Verse to everything else. The hype level from Spider-Verse to everything else is just so all over the place. So I went to like the movie on paper. I like I said, I like this cast. Kraven apparently bites a guy's eye out, which I'm like, how the heck are we going to do that in this movie?
Are they going to
Like,
have the
very
blood
curious.
spatters again? Are we doing blood spatters?
Oh my god.
I mean, if it's rated R, like who knows at this point? But like this movie has
wild.
potential. If this wasn't rated R, it would very much be like another Morbius situation of like, all right, this will just be passable. This will be a good like I'm gonna sit and fold laundry and watch this movie type of thing. But like I'm intrigued. I want to hope for the best, but we'll see when this movie comes out in October how we are all actually feeling. And especially like once the trailer comes out. I would love to know like BD's reaction after like having actually seen it at the panel, because I'm sure he probably is much higher on this than we all are. So, but we shall just wait and see whether or not Kraven's sweep is real. But speaking of other, go ahead.
I'm just gonna wonder if the R rating is what's going to be the quality definer for this, because I think that maybe the not R rating contributed to some of the memeability of the other movies, maybe. So maybe getting that little maybe will give us a boost in quality.
We can only hope.
You know who's not going to be in Kraven the Hunter? Spider-Man. You know where Spider-Man is going to be?
Yeah!
On Disney Plus. A very, very frantic Jim Biscardi sprinted onto our messaging service last week to be like, Aaron, write it now. Please go. We get Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, The Amazing Spider-Man are coming. Like, they're all on Disney Plus now. You can go watch them. You finally don't have to go do shout out to Stars Plus and their wonderful other offerings, which now I'm like, oh boy. You got to figure out if you just love Amazing Spider-Man 2 or love Far From Home or No Way Home, you can still go over there for that. But all the rest of it's over here with Disney. And then Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Venom will be available on May the 12th. So we're doing this incremental thing where they're all getting pulled away from their universe and pulled in, and leaving a little bit of gunk behind and getting pulled in. Do you think this is in anticipation of the chances that Toby, Andrew, maybe Tom Hardy all been in Secret Wars? Anybody thinking that?
Well, I will just say first and foremost, it's just wild to me that like Venom itself, given some of the content of that movie, will now be on Disney Plus. Like, I know we've talked about content ratings on Disney Plus a dozen times on the show, but just like that is inherently very funny to me that like Venom is now a Disney title, at least for the time being. I know people were speculating of like, oh my God, Secret Wars. Oh my God, everything's going to be tied to Secret Wars. Who knows at this point? This movie is still so far away, but it definitely doesn't rule out the possibility now that we're lumping it all under Disney Plus. But I don't know.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that when No Way Home came out, some of the other two Holland Spider-Mans weren't on Disney Plus yet, and so it's like I feel like that's so if they didn't do it for that, I don't think they're doing it for a movie that is years away. I don't think it has anything to do with the other, but I do think it's cool that they're up because, like, for example, I'm really close to my grandfather's wife. She loves Marvel, but if it's not available to her, she's not watching it, so she hasn't seen the Spider-Man movies. So like I'm excited for her that she gets to watch them now because they're on Disney Plus. Like if it's on Disney Plus, she's not going to see it. She guess what? She finally just watched all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because on Disney Plus. So I'm here for this.
Nicole.
I was going to say, go watch our friend George Kittle in
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I don't think this is necessarily a sign that they're going to show up in Secret Wars, though that would be cool. I mean, let's just put everyone in Secret Wars and just let it be like a fun, because I would enjoy that. But I think it's just awesome that they are on Disney Plus, and the ones that aren't there are headed there very soon. I know I didn't somehow I missed this news entirely, and this weekend my child discovered this, so I have watched everything that I haven't seen in a long time, and let me tell you, it was a trip. Like I have questions, but like I think it just makes a lot of sense to have those things housed together for fans to be able to see it, and it just makes sense. I mean, if Spider-Man is so incorporated into the MCU, having these other movies that we have now referenced in the MCU, there just makes sense. I don't think it's necessarily indicative of anything else, but it's just nice and convenient. It makes me happy, and I'll take it.
How excited was the little one? How excited?
I know.
Dude, you have no idea. Like he keeps coming home from school going, "Can we watch the ones can we watch them again?" And he's like, "When do we get to see Venom?" And I'm like, "You do not need to be seeing Venom, child." No, he wants to see Venom because he's now obsessed with the idea of Venom. So
how many times have you heard Hero this week? I can only imagine.
It has now replaced the song from Encanto as my "Oh God, I have trauma" song because I've heard it so many times. But it's not a bad thing. It's just that's the current jam. But let me tell you, the kids are loving having these available to them on Disney Plus. So thank you, Marvel and Disney for making my life both hell and easier at the same time.
I love it. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we are going to take a quick 1-minute break. And when we come back, we have some MCU casting news for the week. So stay tuned. Back to Phase Zero, Season 3, Episode 17, brought to you by our friends at Enterprise. So we have some Marvel casting news, both MCU and just Marvel in general. First and foremost, we have some Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 casting updates. If you want to go into next week's movie completely blind, I would say skip the next couple minutes of the podcast because we will be talking about just who is playing certain characters. We are not going to offer spoilers. We're not going to talk about the clip that is out that they are already in, but we're just going to talk about the casting itself. So James Gunn confirmed on Twitter the other day who is playing Lila the Otter and some of Rocket's other friends in Volume 3. After all of our days of theorizing about Lady Gaga and so many other people to voice Lila, the actual answer is Linda Cardellini, who we know from Hawkeye, from To Me, some other great things. So she is now playing Lila. There's a clip of Rocket and Lila and two of their other friends, but we won't show it or talk about it just because the movie's so close. We don't want to spoil anything. But they also have two other friends who are not in the comics. We have Flora the Rabbit, who is voiced by Michaela Hoover. She played Nova Prime's assistant in the first Guardians, and she was also Camilla in the Suicide Squad. And then we have Teefs the Walrus, which cutest name ever. And he is played by Asim Chowdhury, who played Abel of Cain and Abel on The Sandman. So I am super excited that he's here. But how do we feel about this casting? How do we feel about Linda Cardellini? I know Jamie looks like she has thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I didn't watch this clip because I'm literally seeing the movie tomorrow, and I'm like, I don't need more of this in my brain when I'm like so close to the movie. But I'm seeing it tomorrow. I love Linda. I'm 100% here for it. I do think it's funny, this new trend of like taking actors and turning them into voice characters. Like we just did it with David Dastmalchian in Quantumania, and I don't know, like I'm not disappointed that it's Linda, but it is like not as exciting just because she's already in the MCU. Like if it had been somebody else, it would be a little bit more of a whoa, but because I love her, I'm still into it.
Nicole,
is
how do
my
you feel?
final.
Yeah.
I really love her voice. Like, I just think she has one of those voices that is just so nice. And now that I know that's her and I've paired it with that character, I'm actually really excited for it. Like, I do think it's a little weird, the whole taking actors and turning them into voice characters is just interesting. But I really, really like it. And I have seen the clip, so I've gotten to hear them talking, and I'm like, I would already die for Teefs. Just the way he sounds, and I'm just like, would die for Teefs, and I'm probably gonna get my heart crushed. I know I am, but like, I like this. I think they sound perfect to what the characters look like on the screen, and that for me just takes it to the next level. But I love Linda Cardellini's voice, and I'm just so happy with that one.
Aaron, how do you feel? Did you also miss this news while you were out on vacation, or?
Yeah, I by complete accident, I'm like Mr. Bean. I just walked in and was like, wait, what? There was a whole bunch of stuff. Like we joked around before the show. There was a bunch of spoiler talk about numerous projects over the weekend, and I missed all of it because I didn't have cell service. So I am happy that all these actors are very talented. That's great. I'm happy, and I agree with most of you in the comments. I avoid most of the TV spots and stuff unless I have to write about them, because they be putting a lot in the TV spots nowadays. So, it does. And Kofi said it feels like a weird aside. It might be. I hope, like we don't have to go back to Doctor Strange or the Thor: Love and Thunder putting stuff in the trailers that quite honestly should have just been in the movie. But yeah, like I'm excited that they're priming the pump. I think that, what is it? Because when it was it comes out in like 2 weeks from now, right?
Next week.
Next week.
No, not next week. Okay.
Yes.
So
We're
next week,
crushed.
reaction episode, gonna kind of be emotional. They're already kind of like oiling up the gears for you guys to be sitting here, so I could just be like Oprah circa 1997. Like, how did it make you feel? Was it really about you? Also, do Matthew on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Yes, the F-bomb. Other TV spot that I missed too. I get a bunch of alerts on my phone, like, "Yo, what's going?" I'm like, "What is happening while I'm away from home? Why is all this the world keeps occurring when I'm not there? Why?"
Was there like a soft launch? Did they do that like to see how people would react?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because I'm like, Chris and I were saying, we were like, we'll be shocked if this is the movie. Like it might end up being like this is just in a TV spot or a clip, and it might not actually end up being there, which would just be funny if I'll be like, oh my god, this is the first F-bomb in the MCU, and then it like isn't actually in the actual project. But I don't know anymore. Again, I'm not even watching any of these clips because I'm with Aaron. It's like it is so close to the movie. I don't need to see anything more at this point. But the discourse about it makes me think like they might have been testing the water, but I don't know.
Who cares? Movies used to always, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Movies used to drop F-bombs. Like, that's the thing. You get one, and like, who cares? Like, kids have heard it. I mean, it's like, it's funny.
I was going to say, like, the language of obscenity has evolved so much that people drop F-bombs in like everyday life on a regular basis, to where like even 15 years ago, that would have been a moment. So, I'm not shocked by anything anymore. Maybe I'm just jaded. I will just say jaded.
I will just say back to Lila and Floor and Teefs. Like I last week was reading all of Lila's comic appearances for a piece that will be on the site next week. Lila does not have very many comic appearances. I found out she really only has about 10. But so rereading all of that stuff, just Linda so perfectly fits her voice. And even though Teefs is not in the comics, there's a character whose name is like Walrus, and he is a walrus who's like Rocket's sidekick. So I love that we're kind of getting the energy of like how Rocket was introduced in his friends and his status quo, even if it's not exactly the same. So I'm excited, but I know I'm going to get so heartbroken once I actually see this in action. I'm not ready.
I've already got tissues ready.
Yeah, so we will need to bill you for therapy. You and Aaron.
We are ready here. We are ready for you. The door is open. This is
just going to be a counseling session. But yeah, so in terms of other Marvel casting news for the week, Jamie has one that is really interesting. This was actually from last week, but we missed talking about it during the George Kittle episode. So take it away.
Yeah. I like to think that you saved it just so that I can say it out loud.
Yes.
And it's that Mia Goth has reportedly joined the cast of Blade. I cannot think of better casting. I mean, if you saw X and Pearl, you know that she is just like the new Scream Queen. She's just so good. I haven't seen Infinity Pool yet, but it's high on my list. And there's no way she's not gonna be a vampire. I mean, come on. She's born for this. And I just really hope it's true. Sure it is. These things usually are. I just want the Blade ball to keep on rolling. I need more information. I want this movie so bad. What do you guys think?
To your point about playing a vampire, like I tweeted this out when the casting was announced. If she's not playing Lilith, I will be so disappointed because there are technically 2 Liliths in Marvel, but like the main one is just kind of like the daughter of Dracula. And if you look up her costume from the 80s, and just imagine Mia Goth in like a Marvel version of that, like it would be perfect. I can see it so clearly. I have not seen her actually act in anything. I just know of her from film Twitter and just people responding to her, but I love this. It is so wild that they like, clearly this project is doing something right if she wanted to say yes to it. So I think this is very, very cool. And there's another universe where I feel like the only way that she would have done anything superhero related would have been like, here's a weird like Harley Quinn one-off or something. But the fact that she's wanting to join the MCU and be in Blade is like very exciting.
You know, I don't do the scary, so I have no reference point. But the excitement of I can usually determine things from how excited Jamie or Jenna or whatever, or like Brandon are, and I'm like, oh, if this is like this much. You have people who usually just deride MCU content, going, oh yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. So bring it on. I'm glad we're getting positive updates about that movie because for a while there, a lot of the news was a lot of like hit or miss. So it seems like things are moving in the right direction for people who are like, oh, there's no way this thing's gonna. I'm like, I think they realize you guys really want Blade, you guys. I think they really get that you guys want Blade. There are certain things on that huge timeline that are going to get pushed back. I do not believe the Vampire Hunter is one of them. I think that is going to get priority over a lot of the other stuff. And judging from the reaction, it probably should. So now I'm at the watch Pearl through my hands. And that's not going to be fun because I don't... Okay.
Just do what I do. Just read the Wikipedia synopsis. I don't know.
That's what I do too, Jenna. I'm like, okay.
You gotta watch Pearl for a performance. It's not that scary. It's just a show.
It's not that scary.
And I think you should watch X first, but if you really don't think you can sit through it, just watch Pearl. Her performance is so good. It's eerie and like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, but it's not, I wouldn't call it scary. I think you can handle it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more uncomfortable than it is scary. And she is just phenomenal. She really is. And like Blade is low key, like probably the one MCU project that I'm very quietly like really, really want because I love vampires and I love vampire hunters and I love the Blade pocket of things. I don't like get real like vocal about it because you got to have some things that you love that you just love for yourself. But I really love Blade. And this casting just sounds so good. Like, and I'm with Jenna. Like, if she's not Lilith, I might have to like riot or something. I might have to start hunting vampires. I don't know. But it just, when I read that, I'm like, oh, that makes perfect freaking sense. Especially with what little else we already know about casting. Like, I need this. This is the best casting news I think I've heard from Marvel in a hot minute.
But how could it be when you've got other casting news to talk about, Nicole?
Well, yeah, but you know, I can't give all the good news away. But we do have more fun news. So Juno Temple from Ted Lasso is in Venom 3. Now, this one kind of blew my mind. I wasn't expecting it. We don't know who she's playing, but she was apparently the producer's top choice. What do we all think about this? Now, I'm going to be honest. I have not seen Ted Lasso. Do not come for me comments. It's on my list. My list is a mile long. But Juno Temple's fantastic. So what do we think?
Aaron, you're at the top.
I mean, so like once again, a hole in my critical consensus, but I'm like, if you guys are excited, sounds great. Also, the fact that they've been quietly just developing Venom 3 and we haven't heard much of anything other than Liam Crowley talking to Andy Serkis and being like, what's up with it? And then him being like, is great. So I'm intrigued to see what they do because like, is the third one going to address Tom Hardy being in No Way Home for 6 seconds? Like, are they going to call it the right universe? Like, what's going to happen? I'm very, very interested to see what they do with the third one because even though maybe we weren't the highest on it, that thing made a crap ton of money. It made so much money. Like, you know, some of the other MCU and comic book projects across the board wish they had done the Venom Let There Be Carnage numbers, which is just an interesting sentence to say. So, yeah.
People do love Venom.
Yeah, I still will reiterate the point I've made it like a dozen times on the show. For me, the Venom movies are the new Ernest movies. Just put Venom in any situation and I will watch it. Venom goes to camp, Venom goes to space, Venom goes to another universe. I just want to watch Venom do weird things. And so I feel like that's definitely what we're getting with 3. I really hope she's playing some sort of other symbiote. There are like half a dozen other lady symbiotes that I feel like she could be. I like Nicole have not watched Ted Lasso, but I had a Juno Temple phase when I was on Tumblr, like in college, because I just watched basically every indie movie she was in, regardless of quality, because I was just like oddly fascinated by her. And I always thought she gave like a really compelling performance. So I'm very excited that she's in this. And I really hope she's playing something weird because I feel like she could really, I want to know Jamie thinks. I'm sure she has thoughts.
Yeah, I love Juno Temple. I'm like all of you. I'm a Ted Lasso fan. It's weird that there's a lot of Ted Lasso fans here. But yeah, watch the show. It's good. But I'm not going to give you a hard time for it because there are a million TV shows to watch, as Nicole said. But like you, Jenna. I mean, Juno Temple's been on my radar forever. I think the earliest I can think of clocking her was Atonement. She's just a great performer. And but it's hard for me to get excited about Venom 3. You guys know that I loved the first Venom. The second Venom fell so flat for me. I thought it was just like so bland. But you know, I'm excited to see Tom Hardy do it again because that's really what it's all about, right? So throw Juno Temple in there, and it's like, heck yeah. I mean, I thought I'd feel that way about Woody Harrelson though, when I was just like, meh, meh. So we'll see. I just hope that they like, you know, we all disagree about these movies. Like BD doesn't love the first one, like some of us do. So like maybe make a Venom movie that everyone likes for once instead of one we have to all fight over every time. That would be great.
We can only dream. And then speaking of the Spider-Verse,
I was about to say we're staying with Spider-Man, big Spider-Man episode. So we have Shamik Moore addressing the possibility of playing Miles Morales in live action. Our friend Ash Crossan over at ET. Hi Ash. Hi Miles. Her dog. So he told Ash, do I want to do it? Absolutely. Yeah. I think if you know the work, I would just be humbled to be able to take on that. I would put my entire spirit into that opportunity. And if you see my work, you know that what it means to me. So I'll leave it at that. And I've seen this topic like pop up a couple times because I mean, he wouldn't be the first MCU actor or Marvel actor to be multiple roles. He's not even the only one in this freaking movie. In fact, I just realized that. So I'm saying that there's 3. Dear God. So do you think he would probably be in line to be Miles in live action, or you think they would go younger?
How old is he?
I meant to look that up because people are saying that he's like almost in his 30s. I'm gonna look that up now because like that is my one issue is that he might be too old. Yeah, he's currently 27. So like realistically, by the time we would get to Miles, he's kind of pushing 30. So that is the one thing I would, if there's a way to make the multiverse of it happen, of like, here's maybe an older Miles and we get to just like have him be there as like a gratuitous something or other. But I feel like realistically, by the time we get to Miles, they have to go younger, especially considering how young Tom currently plays Peter. But I don't know. Nicole, Jamie, how do y'all feel about it?
I'm trying to think have I seen him in anything in live action?
You've seen Dope?
Dope.
Oh. Dope. Okay. Yeah, I know. I haven't seen Dope. I know Dope. I haven't seen it because
my God, I've seen something Jamie hasn't.
I know. And that's Rick, right?
Write that down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love Rick. I definitely need to see that movie. It's on my watch list. I just haven't because I think Rick's such a good director. So no, I guess the answer is no. I haven't seen anything. So
have you watched The Get Down on Netflix?
Oh yeah, that's true too.
I've seen the first episode, but when it came out,
he is technically in that. So you've almost seen something that he's in.
Right.
But yeah,
so there's nothing fresh in my brain.
Yeah.
You know what? Believe it or not, I can't see everything. I try. I'm embarrassed.
Oh.
But what can you do? Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think he's too old. I think that's that.
Yeah,
Nicole,
I agree with that. I agree. I think he's already in that spot where he's not going to be believable at that younger age. I mean, after I think I saw it in the comments, like, you know, last time I believed him as a high schooler was Dope, and I agree with that. Like, and even then it was stretching it just a little bit for me there. I think by the time this would actually happen, we would have to see him in some sort of like alternate timeline cameo situation to where we acknowledge his efforts. But I think they're going to have to go younger. They really are, and that's okay. But I mean, he's crushing it with what he's doing, and we love it. And I love Miles in all of his forms, but I don't think he's going to be our live action one.
I will say, like, even when Tom Holland was cast, it's like, obviously he had been in things, like he was in that one movie with Chris Hemsworth where they were on a boat, that the name is totally escaping me right now. But like, we didn't know who he was, like, on a larger scale, and everyone now embraces him. And so it's like, I feel like when we get to the point with casting a Miles, there is some unknown kid actor right now who is absolutely going to crush it, and we just don't know who that person is. And like, that is kind of beautiful in and of itself. So
I was going to say, I want him to play an older version of Miles, because there's an older version of Miles in the comics at the end of time who's like wizened, and he's basically just the old version of Static Shock in the episode of Justice League Unlimited. And so he'd be like, kid, you have to do what I did to protect everything, and then be like, you know, and then older fans get a little like kick from, oh yeah, he played him in the cartoon. But like, as far as like playing it, like all of the Young Avengers have peak like drama club, STEM kid, science energy that you can believe they have like backpacks that weigh too much because their back hurt yet. Have that. So yeah, unfortunately. Love you, Shadiq. Thank you for helping with. By the way, he came through and did the live tweet with us when we did the watch during the pandemic. It was delightful with us and the directors with BD. So shout out to him. But like, yeah, he's a little bit long in the tooth.
It is interesting how like history just repeats itself, of like, we had that with Donald Glover, and then he played Prowler, and then so it's just like we are just proverbially passing the torch until we eventually get to a live action Miles. And even then, like, that kid that they will cast as live action Miles, it's like 20 years later they're going to play Prowler. Like, it just is going to keep going and going and going. But yeah, so then we're going to take a quick 1 minute break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about even more casting stuff. Not so much new casting, but more when will people come back to the MCU. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Phase Zero, Season 3, Episode 17, brought to you by our friends at Enterprise. So it's time for another game that we have played a couple times on the show called Will These Characters Return to the MCU? We have a lot of quotes this week from different people who have been in the MCU previously, and they're kind of addressing whether or not they may come back. So the biggest one was Scarlett Johansson and Gwyneth Paltrow. They were both on Gwyneth's The Goop podcast, and they kind of talked about being in Marvel. I'm surprised that Gwyneth actually remembered that she was in Marvel. But they kind of talked about whether or not they would come back. And Scarlett said, I'm done. The chapter is over. I did all that I had to do. Also, coming back and playing a character again and again over a decade of time is such a unique experience. Gwyneth then kind of piggybacked off of that, and she said that she thinks she's done, but she said, I didn't die, so they can always ask me. So what do you guys think? Do you think we would ever get back, ever get back? How do you feel?
I don't understand why this was news. Like everyone was talking about this because like we knew this. I mean, like Scarlett Johansson has made it clear before. Gwyneth has made it so clear that she erased the part of her brain that did these movies. To me, the real news is that they debunked that they were feuding on Iron Man 2. Like that was more interesting to me because like yeah, they're done and that's fine. Like I think that Nat has like a really lovely send off, and it's really tragic and heartbreaking. And sometimes people should stay dead because it's more impactful that way. And in terms of like Pepper, like yeah, she's not dead. She could come back, but like who cares? I like if she did come back, I'd be like, oh neat, she's back. But also, it's not like I'm sitting on the edge of my seat like it's Hugh Jackman. Who cares? I just think it's so funny that this was like huge deal when neither of it was really new information, in my opinion. That's how I feel.
Nicole.
I do think that Scarlett Johansson's done. I honestly like, you know, I think there's a lot of, you know, what dies doesn't stay dead of it all, but like I think in this case it really does need to, like her her arc is done. I think it would derail so much. So I believe her when she says she's done. Do I think Gwyneth will be back? Probably not. Do I think she would probably be open to it? It sounds like she would if she could remember that she did the role in the first place. Do I need her to come back? Absolutely not. Like, can we please just move freaking forward? Like, reference that she's alive and existing and thriving. That's all I really need. I don't need to see her. I think we are definitely at a point where we can move on beyond those characters, but please let's let Nat stay dead. Let's let her move on. Let's let her legacy be what it is. And I believe Scarlett when she says, "No, I'm done. I'm ready to move on." And she did play that role for a really long time. Like it's time for her to move on.
Aaron, how do you feel?
Is she still doing Tower of Terror? Jenna, do you know?
I think so. As far as I know, yeah. So
I think so too. So it's not like she's completely severed the relationship or anything.
Yeah.
But like, I suppose this is a more interesting conversation about who exactly do you bring back and why, and how do you navigate it to the point where people don't feel like it robs them of like the finality of the choices that they make, right? I mean, this is why Brandon's favorite Russo brothers quote is like, we kind of let that's for other people to deal with. That's what the entirety of the last two phases have been. It's like, hey, guess what? We kind of have to figure out where to go after that. So if she did, it would be cool. An Agent of Chaos, would like Black Widow to be in Secret Wars, but then isn't it Lake Bell in What If?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And she turns around in the wig and it's a different person, and all of us just go, wait, what?
That would be rad. I would be down for that.
They ruined that by putting Lake Bell in Wakanda Forever. They wasted her so hard.
But as we have proven in this episode,
what in the world, girl?
You're
it
right.
doesn't matter.
But I'm just still bitter that they really wasted.
Understandable, me too.
When Lake Bell shows up as Black Widow and Hawkeye as David Desmalchin, you both will be back. You'll both be back. I've seen you two. I've seen y'all movies.
These characters.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Right? Exactly.
I was gonna say, like, it's not like we're done telling Natasha's stories. It's like we have Lake Bell doing the really good performance on What If as the story kind of suits it. So it's like we're still getting Natasha stuff, but I really see it being a thing where Scarlett will only come back if they like back up the dump truck of money for Secret Wars, because I feel like with Secret Wars they will not pass up the opportunity to, if they can get all six Avengers, the original six, and you do the pan around them again like it's 2012 and everything is so much simpler. Like they're going to try to recreate that, even if it's all just different versions of them from different multiverses. Like that feels like a no-brainer. So I feel like they maybe would convince, but I'm sure, because it's like, you know, the original six all have a group chat, like they all have their matching tattoos, they're all still friends. I'm sure it'll become this thing of like, if people agree to come back for Secret Wars, other people probably will also agree to come back. So, but that's the only example I can think of where she would be willing to.
I love this vision you have of like basically Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans riding around for one last job, one last
that is
job,
kind of how it feels,
one last heist.
Honestly,
let's go.
Tootling along in a golf cart.
And then I agree with y'all. I feel like Gwyneth, like they would have to convince her to come back, but I don't think there's really a story reason. I still kind of joke she's basically playing herself in Endgame of just reading her books about composting and just kind of being there. So I don't see a reason for her to come back.
Most impactful thing to ever come from a group podcast ever.
Yeah.
That's the other real story here too.
And see, I had missed the thing about them feuding. Like, I didn't even know that bit because we all were writing about whether or not they're going to return. So, like, thank you to Jamie for, like, giving me that information because I didn't even have any idea. But yeah, so then continuing playing this game of will these characters return to the MCU? Kristen Ritter was on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast and was obviously asked about returning as Jessica Jones. And she said, I have no idea. I hope so. I think that people love Jessica. I know it because I live it. But honestly, I don't know. Marvel, they're so secretive. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there that of course I would be there in a second. I'd have my boots and jacket on, ready to rock. Do y'all think she's coming back? Aaron, you're at the top.
Oh, this one, yes, I do. I sure do. They've been doing a lot of pushing of Netflix content this entire time that we've gotten everything set onto the board. Daredevil Born Again is 8 million episodes for some reason. So, and there's already the Punisher in it. So at this point, come on, like give Adam Barnhart his like this is cinema moment and let them all be there so we can all enjoy it. I feel like this is a layup. It's just in this one of all of the quotes, besides what we'll get to, like sounds the most like I might know something, but I cannot tell y'all.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. It's not exactly Charlie Cox. Please, they have a gun pointed at me under the table. And it's not quite Andrew Garfield, like they have a trap door under my seat, please. Like, but it's getting there, you know?
Jamie, how do you feel about it?
I mean, she's the only person from the Netflix stuff that I genuinely love and like care about. So I want it. It's like I want it so bad. But yeah, my instinct says that she's lying and she knows she's coming back. Like we've talked before about their teases, her and Mike on their little friendship runs. No,
we need to go on a run up there, Jamie. We need to go on that trail so we can go see them.
They're
there every day. Every day.
I'd be 10 feet behind. They're walking, and I'd still be running behind.
Just get like a scooter. Just like follow them on a
rollerblade.
I'm gonna run behind you with a speaker playing Kate Bush. Okay, we're gonna get through this together.
Nicole, how do you feel? Do you think Kristen Ritter might come back?
Oh yeah, that's such a lawyer answer. That is such a lawyer answer. Like that is I know things that I can't say it, so I'm gonna be as opaque, like as not obvious as possible, but if you know, you know. Yeah, and I need it. Like I'm with Jamie. That is honestly the only of the Netflix Marvel things that I actually watched all the way through.
Me too.
Because I love Jessica Jones. Oh my god, I love Jessica Jones, and I loved her portrayal so much. Like I know way too much about the fashion in that show because I went down a very dark rabbit hole, and it's amazing. Ask me sometime about the jacket and the jeans. Just it's great, but. That just as soon as I read that, I'm like, oh, that's a lawyer answer. She's coming back. Just which episode of the 8 million is it going to be in? And I will set a timer for it so I don't forget because it's happening. Yes, that is a. I'm saying yes, but I'm not saying yes so I don't get in trouble. They don't pull up the trap door. Yeah,
I completely agree. I feel like she definitely knows something, even if we don't get to see the results of it eventually. Either way, even if she's not returning in the foreseeable future, we still get her in the Orphan Black spinoff. So like we're winning either way. So like I'm just happy to get Kristen Ritter back on my TV anyway. And I know she's in Love and Death with Elizabeth Olsen. So like that is also exciting. I know Jamie, for those of you just listening, Jamie just got very, very close to the camera. But like I'm just happy to see her back on my TV anyway. And if it happens to be Jessica, which it sounds like it might be, then that would be great.
Richard, put Adam on the screen. Richard, put Adam on the screen.
I know. We need to have Adam on at some point.
He has a thing in the comments.
He's in the comments.
Adam said save Iron Fist. Okay. Yes. I agree. But mainly if it's Colleen Wing, but we'll get to that another day. So we have one more round of this to play, but in the meantime, we have a little bit of extra time, so we might take some audience questions. So if you have a question in the chat, fire it away, and we might try to answer it by the end of the show. But so our final will these characters return to the MCU of the day is Haley Steinfeld also talked to Ash at ET about whether or not she knows where Kate Bishop will appear next, and her answer was just maybe. That was literally the only word that she said. So we know she might, like, it sounds like she might return, but like, what do you guys think? Do you think like it's something sooner than later? How do we feel?
It would be insane if they didn't bring her back. Are you kidding me? Like, everyone loved her. She was perfect. One of the most perfectly cast things we've ever seen. She knows. I'm sorry. Maybe. Yeah, no, she knows. I can't tell you when because everything seems up in the air right now. There's a lot of big question marks, but there's no way we're not seeing her again.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a definite like, oh yeah, like if they would be stupid not to bring her back. It would be like something catastrophic would have to happen for her to not be back. And while the timeline of it all, I think it might be a little further out than maybe we want because God knows what's going on with schedules and timelines at this point. But I think it's going to be relatively soon. I don't think they're gonna hold off on that for very long because she was perfect casting. Like of all the things that they have done for casting, that they couldn't have like created a human being out of their minds to fit that role better. So yeah, she's coming back. Like I'm secure in that.
Aaron, how do you feel about it?
All I know is that they better not have taken Dickinson from me for not to come back. Like, absolutely, yes. What are you talking about? Also,
Dickinson's done.
I know. That's why we couldn't announce it earlier because like Apple was like, no, you signed a contract. Let's go ahead and get Dickinson out before you run off to shoot bows and arrows with everybody. The maybe is really ominous. I always point to, if you remember when we were talking about if there was going to be a Young Avengers project, I always point to that weird look during the Hawkeye press conference between her and Kevin Feige when someone asked her about Young Avengers, and she looked at him and he looked back at her like, don't say a word. So if we're building to that, it makes sense. Also, I got a hot one for you. I think she's the first one of these Disney Plus people that's going to pop back up, because who the heck else does Echo know in the MCU? And Echo's supposed to be out. Who else does she know?
True.
Like,
That's
she
true.
gotta, come on. I know Charlie's gonna be there too. We'll all be like, hey, like we're gonna do the whole weird, goofy, when does Daredevil pop up again? I'm sure that's gonna be a certain segment of the fan base. But I do think Haley Steinfeld's gonna be in there too. Because she hasn't met anybody else. Who else you gonna have? She's the only one.
Because I was going to ask everybody, like, where do you think, if you had to project for her to go up in next, what would it be? I think Aaron has the perfect answer, but like, does anyone else have any other like pie in the sky possibilities?
I just want to see her, like, we see before Yelena goes off to be her Thunderbolt, we just see them in their little apartment together, living together, and then it's like, bye! That's my dream.
We would be so lucky. We would be so lucky. Seriously. Nicole, do you have any theories of where Kate Bishop could be?
No, because I really like Aaron's, but now I just want an interlude of like chaos macaroni and cheese with her and Yelena.
Yeah.
Give him a cooking show. Give him like a cooking show and then send them off.
I still have felt like Hawkeye could be the perfect show to eventually get a second season where it just follows Kate's solo stuff of her being like a private eye in Los Angeles, and you kind of completely change her scenery, still have her and Lucky, but it's just like completely different supporting cast and like elements around her. I would love for that to happen at some point, but with how many things are going on in the MCU, who knows? But like, I would love for that to happen.
I love
eventually.
how you brought up the dog. Like, we all forgot about Lucky.
It has to, because Lucky is such a key part of that. We have to have Lucky there. Like, it's mandatory. But yeah, so that's been our game of will these characters return to the MCU. Before we wrap up for today, we have a couple fan questions from the chat. Bill in the chat is asking, will Kevin Feige and the editing team fix the 6 years later typo in No Way Home? What do you guys think about that? Do you think that'll ever happen?
In Homecoming?
Or yeah, in Homecoming, yeah.
Oh, that's gone and done. Like, we're just gonna have to suffer over that for the rest of our lives.
Y'all gonna be mad when they work it into Secret Wars or something. Some down the line, like they did it with Thor: Dark World. They're like, "You're annoyed? Eat it. Like macaroni and cheese with hot sauce. Eat it."
Listen, I've been rewatching the Fast and Furious movies, and it's like sometimes time just doesn't make sense, and that's okay.
That's right.
I've been watching them too, and I completely agree. The timeline is nonsensical.
Who cares?
And I love it so much.
Time is a flat circle. Time is a flat circle. I just correct it in my brain and keep going forward. I don't think we need to waste time correcting it. Just fix it in your brain. March forward.
Until I did this job, I never even thought about it. I'm like, whatever.
I did though.
Like there are some mistakes that like stick out, and I will obsess over them as a fan. And then there's some I'm just like, my brain will just skim past that and keep going. And that's one of them. I'll just skim past it and keep going because I can autocorrect in my head. I don't think they're gonna waste the time on it. And I mean, it'd be hilarious if they did, but I don't think it's a priority.
I will always just point to the fact that like superhero comics have such a weird schedule and timeline and everything. Like there are retcons on top of retcons in terms of how anything works. There's literally the whole concept of hyper time because, you know, none of it makes any sense. So it's just, you kind of just have to just let it be. But I do agree, like it would be extremely funny, like having it hit Disney Plus and have the thing change, because the Lord knows they've changed things on Disney Plus before. And then we have a question from Julia, which is, which Marvel project this year do you expect can have the biggest reaction to, whether emotional, shock, happiness, etc., and why? Or do you think that already happened with Ant-Man 3? So which project from this year do we think will have like the most visceral response from the audience? I think we
Guardians.
know the answer. Yeah,
I think it's Guardians. Yeah.
Aaron, do you agree?
I mean, not for me personally, but for the rest of everybody, yeah, absolutely, 100%. So, I mean, unless something comes along and it's really crazy, it's just like we get to D23 or whatever, and it's like, haha, Silver Surfer Halloween special. Like, unless that happens, right? Unless that happens, Werewolf by Night 2 with like, you know, it's a man thing and him just goofing around having a tea party. And then I'll be like, haha, I win. But that's the only way I can win. That's it.
I do feel like there's going to be a response to Spider-Verse, like especially just on a larger level of like the families that are going to go to that movie and have like be so jazzed from it. I think that is going to have a completely tangential but like very similar sort of reaction to Guardians. Guardians is going to be like the end of an era, but I feel like Spider-Verse is just going to be thriving in its story. So hopefully that
Spider-Verse is going to make the most money.
Oh, also that too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If Mario is any indication, like people want family movies, animated movies right now. So I feel like Spider-Verse is going to make so much money on that alone. But yeah. And then Layla has a really good question, which we're going to have as our last question for today. Nicole will be very happy about this question too. Who would you cast as another Ken and Barbie with MCU actors?
Oh God. I've never thought about this before. Okay,
you were just broken. I love it.
You just broke my brain. All right, but hear me out. Hear me out. I kind of would like to see Chris Evans as Ken.
Yes.
He seems like a clear choice.
He's such a wholesome, like vintage OG, like the original Ken with his hair. I think he'd be such a wholesome OG Ken. Like it would basically be sort of like a version of like Steve Rogers, I'm sure, but like. I would love that so hard. Like, can you just see it? Like, I don't know. Nothing against like Ryan Gosling's Kenergy or anything, but I think like the super wholesome Ken. Like, I would want him for that. In terms of Barbie, I'm gonna go a little chaotic here because I think that as we get more contemporary with Barbie in general, like, and again, I love the dolls and all that. Mattel actually just came out with a really cool new one that I'm really excited about. I think Florence Pugh as an action Barbie would be so freaking cool because she's got a physicality that I think would really work for a contemporary Barbie character. And she's got like the acting chops and she's also got like the spice that would be just a hell of a pairing to put in an absolutely chaotic movie. And now maybe I need that.
I would like to throw out for Barbie Elizabeth Debicki.
Yes.
Just the height alone, you know.
Yeah. Oh my God, she could be a Barbie. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Let her be Barbie tall.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Aaron, do you have any ideas?
I do. I'm surprised that they didn't stunt cast this. I want Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany to be Barbie and Ken.
We know they could do it.
Casting would be crazy.
Yeah. No,
it would be so cool.
I want them as Alan and Midge so they can have the happy family set. Like give me that 90s wedding set and then the happy family set with those two so they finally freaking get a happy ending and
that's
get
what
their
I'm
kids.
saying.
That's what I want. Make them Alan and Midge
alone. Oh my god.
Because the red hair, like make it happen. Make it happen.
I will just say, because like the chat has some really good suggestions too. Like Karen Gillan would make a really fun Barbie. I'm obviously going to say Tatiana Maslany. I feel like she would she could play 18 different types of Barbies, and that would all just be great. I'm also gonna throw out Michael B. Jordan as Ken.
Ooh.
I feel like we all deserve this, just on a larger level. So
from your lips to God's ear, yes. Give that to me.
It feels perfect. So in a dream world, I would definitely say like Michael B. Jordan as Ken. Also just with some sort of like anime flair because we know he loves anime. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for your fan questions. This was a really fun way to kind of wrap up the show. That's it for today's Phase Zero presented by Enterprise. Aaron, do you have anything you want to leave the listeners with today?
Yes, it's at CinemaCon Hunter on social media. We have some fun stuff this week for you guys. So tonight I'm going to Bridgerton. I'm going to the Bridgerton premiere, doing the carpet and seeing what we're going to do. Me and Ariel will be there looking at beautiful people in very, very expensive clothing. Tomorrow, we might have something fun with me and Jamie. I have to ask her about the show. Some of you talked about the concept of time travel being weird in that franchise. So we're going to work on that. And we're working on a giveaway for you guys with Marvel with a Spider-Verse explainer encyclopedia. And we'll be trying to give it away on the show and promotion of that. So keep it locked for all that stuff. I'm very, very busy. I've not been at home. I don't know how Brandon Davis does this. We love you guys.
Awesome. All right, Nicole, do you have anything to plug?
Just, with Guardians coming out next week, we're going to be having some awesome Guardians stuff coming up. And I'm going to be talking about healing and trauma, but also we're going to talk about that soundtrack. So keep your eyes posted for that next week. And I want to just throw something out there this week that I usually don't plug when this, like comics, very important, but y'all need to be reading Philadelphia. That's all I got to say. That is probably one of the best comics that's ever come out, period. And I'm not exaggerating. Please be reading Philadelphia. And then you can find me on Twitter at Life in Polaroid, and then on basically everything else at the Nicole Drum. And we can talk about it because it is such a good book that I think more people need to read.
Awesome. Jamie, what do you have to plug?
Oh gosh, there's lots of good stuff to watch. There's lots of good stuff out. I've got some fun interviews coming up. I think next week I'm doing Little Mermaid. So I'm excited about that. And I've got the biggest interview of my career next week, but I'll just let you simmer on that. I've never been more excited about anything in my life, so I don't want to jinx it and say it on here. But yeah, go watch some movies when you're not reading comics. Don't spend time with your loved ones. Just read comics. Watch movies. Check out Ted Lasso. And follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Jamie Cinematics.
Or, you can do those things in the same room as your family.
I was going to say, use those as a gateway to loved ones. That's what I did.
Absolutely. It's Jenna Lynn on all of the social medias. As everyone has already said, go read some comics. There are very good comics this week. Nicole and I are losing our minds over the new Green Arrow series, which has just now been upgraded to a 12-issue series, which is fantastic news. Go buy it. It's amazing. And there are so many other good comics out this week, so go read them. So that's it for today's Phase Zero. Be sure to drop a 5-star review in the podcast platform of your choice, and we will read it on the show and ask your questions at some point. Next week, we should have some of our reactions to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and just a lot of other fun stuff in store. So stay tuned and see y'all later.